planting a couple of fruit trees. I got this green gauge plum tree online somewhere. Oh, from Online Orchards, the tag is still on it. Anyway, it's dead, which is kind of sad because it was a nice solid tree, but it kind of leafed out a little bit and died right back. So we are going to replace it. I ordered from Stark Brothers Nursery. I got a Fuyu Asian Persimmon, a Red Haven Dwarf Peach. They originated in South Haven, Michigan, so I thought that was kind of cool. We're in Michigan, it originated in Michigan. Anyway, we're going to replace this with the Asian Persimmon, and then we'll put the peach tree in down there. Now that it's not 100 degrees out every day, we can go ahead and plant trees without worrying about them dying right away. So that's what we're going to do. This is our little mini orchard. We've got 3 or 4 plum trees, we've got a couple of apple trees, a couple currants, some hazelnuts. What am I forgetting? Oh, a cherry and an apricot. These are all dwarf varieties because it's not a very big space. How long would you say this is? Maybe 40 feet or so?
Yeah, maybe.
40, 50 feet maybe, by probably 20 feet wide or so. So not a very big space. We haven't paid any attention to the standard advice for spacing, which for semi-dwarf trees is I think 20 to 25 feet, and for dwarf trees it's like 10 to 15 feet. So these trees are not 10 to 15 feet apart at all. They're more like 6 feet apart, which is fine because we're going to prune them down, keep them small. This is just our backyard mini orchard. It is not our main orchard, which we do not have in yet because we don't have the land cleared for it yet, but we'll get there. Okay, let's plant some trees.
So how far do we gotta go down with this?
It's probably far enough. Okay, so when you're planting fruit trees that are grafted, you want to make sure to dig the hole about twice as wide as the root ball of your transplant here. You want to make sure the roots stay nice and moist. I had ours in a bucket of water for a couple of days so that just the bottoms are hollow, just the bottom could wick up enough moisture until we could get them planted. So Eric has dug a hole about twice as wide as the tree root ball, and then you want to make sure this graft line right here, so where the tree has been attached to the root stock, you can faintly see the line there. You want to make sure that that's just above the soil line. So the root ball is nice and loose, but if it was compacted, you'd want to break it up and then just go ahead and push the soil back, making sure that you're keeping the tree fairly straight and level. Ooh, getting bit by mosquitoes here. Okay, so you can see I've kept the graft line just above the soil there, so we've got about an inch or so difference. Here's the graft line, and obviously the soil line is right here. And then you just want to mulch a couple feet on either side around the fruit tree, and then hopefully this will ease into dormancy over the winter and then come out with some strong growth in the spring. So that's our Red Haven Dwarf Peach tree planted. Now we're gonna go ahead and do the Asian Persimmon. This is something that I am really, really excited about. This is a Asian Persimmon tree. The variety is called Fuyu. And if you don't know anything about persimmons, they are a delicious orange fall fruit. They kind of look like a tomato a little bit. There's two varieties. They're called astringent varieties. That means you have to wait for it to ripen, almost to the point of like a way overripe tomato is the best way to describe it. If you try to eat it when it's crunchy, it will taste awful. It'll just be really bitter. Then there's the other variety, the non-astringent variety. So those you can eat when they're firm like an apple, and they're sweet and juicy and almost the flavor of like a date or something is how I would describe it. There are some species that are native to North America. There's an American persimmon. Those have really small fruit. They grow a little bit more down south than they do here. This Fuyu Asian Persimmon is actually meant to be grown in zone 7. We are in zone 6A, right on the border of 6B, so we're pushing our luck a little bit here, trying to grow this. So taking that into consideration, we have to pick a spot that's going to get plenty of sun and that's going to be fairly warm, so that it has the best possible chance of being successful. This tree was a little bit pricey. It was about $65 for this tree, and Eric's giving me a look behind the camera. But yes, this is a $65 tree, but it's something that I'm really excited for, and sometimes you just have to treat yourself to something, right? Okay, so we're gonna get this planted and hopefully it works out. So we've got this hole dug here. It's about at the right depth, so we're just gonna loosen up the root ball. Oops. Set it in there. Okay, it's a little bit on the deep side, so I'm gonna just fill in just enough to bring it up to where I want it to sit. This is really good soil. And that's one thing you want to check too. You just want to make sure that the soil that you're putting around your fruit tree is going to be soil that's compatible with what it can grow in. Fruit trees have a hard time in clay. We do have a lot of clay around here, but this particular spot in the yard here on the farm has had many, many decades to develop good soil. So again, you just want the graft line to be above. Where is the graft line actually?
Do you see it? I think I see it. Like there's a difference.
Yeah, right there.
Like a little nodule.
Yeah, so just be careful. Make sure you find your graft line and just make sure that you're above that. And that's just so that water doesn't get in there and rot your graft line. You don't get mildew and things like that in there. It's just to help keep it healthy. Okay, so then we'll lay some mulch around this and hopefully it'll do well for next year. I'm going to keep the support on it just for now while it's young, but as it grows we'll remove that. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us in our mini orchard today. We're really excited to see how that turns out. We planted that mini orchard because of that saying, the best time to plant fruit trees is 10 years ago. While we hope to get our larger main orchard started next year, we wanted to have something in the meantime that we could pick from a little bit earlier. Growing more and more of our own food each year is really important to us, so the sooner we can bite into apples of our own, the better. See you next time.